Well, I'm Dr. Patty Ferris. I'm a board-certified dermatologist, and I'm the host of this episode of Skincare Confidential. This podcast is an outreach of a meeting that I started with my colleague, Dr. Ted Lane, called the Science of Skincare Summit, and it's a meeting designed to teach healthcare professionals about the science behind topical skincare. So we are really excited today to have Dr. Mamina Turegano as our guest. I know that name is a mouthful, but most people know her as Dr. Mamina, Mamina. And I wanted to speak to Mamina because she's has one of the biggest followings in social media of all dermatologists. And she's also extremely accomplished. So I'm going to spend just a minute, Mamina. I know how humble you are, but I'm going to spend a minute talking about you. So Mamina graduated from LSU Medical School. She went to Georgetown University, where she got double boarded in dermatology and in internal medicine. She worked a little while in Washington, D.C., and then she decided to go out to UCLA and get boarded in dermatopathology. So she is a triple boarded dermatologist, which is extremely rare and extremely accomplished. And then recently she went and got certification in integrative dermatology. And one of the things I love about you, Mamina, is that you're like a brainiac, but you're also like the coolest, hippest, out there chick I know. So, I mean, she's like this dichotomy of, I don't know, I've never met anybody like Mamina ever. Mamina and I practiced together for 5 years. We had an outrageous amount of fun. And I thought it would be really helpful, especially for some of our younger dermatologists who are kind of just starting their practices, to talk about social media and how you got into social media and really what social media can do for you as a practitioner. So I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about how you got into social media and especially that first viral post that you had.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. What a compliment. Thank you. And I'm so happy to be here and talk to you. Always love any opportunity I can to talk with you. But this is a great and fun subject, and I think also very helpful subject. So I moved back to New Orleans after I did my fellowship. I moved back in 2016. New Orleans is pretty saturated with dermatologists, and I kind of wanted to make a name for myself. I always had an interest in taking a holistic or integrative approach to dermatology. And so I started a professional Instagram account at that time that looked more at diet, supplements, lifestyle changes that can, affect your overall health and improve your skin. And I gained a little bit of traction on that. I probably garnered about 10,000 followers uh, leading up to 2020. And then when COVID hit, we were home a lot. We spent some time in the office. That was an
Not
interesting
much.
time.
Yeah.
Not much.
Not much.
But yes, we started doing a lot online.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I was posting more on Instagram, gaining more followers, and TikTok, the company, reached out to me. I don't know how they found me, but they were reaching out to professionals or people who were good at their craft to bring more educational content to TikTok. They wanted to expand it from more than just dancing and lip syncing. And so I was enrolled in this TikTok educational initiative, and I had to post like every day for 6 weeks straight. It was a lot of work. Yes.
Wow.
And it felt like a thankless job because they did pay me a little bit of money, but it was so much work. And I was putting out all these educational videos about skin cancer. And, nothing really gained traction until about a month into this. I posted a video. I was on a trip with my mom, and we were just on a beach trip, and she was eating a banana for breakfast, and then she proceeded to use this banana peel on her face. Like, she literally was rubbing her face with it. And I'm like, this is insane. I got to record this. This is hilarious. And and I asked her like where she came up with this. She's like, I just did it on my own. And then I started doing research on the benefits of bananas, and I saw that there was some interesting information out there. There are some skin benefits. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't recommend it as a go-to, but I thought this is a fun video because it's really quirky. My mom's doing this thing. Let me provide some potential scientific evidence behind it. Light science, exactly. And before I knew it, the video went viral. I woke up the next morning with, over 1 million views.
Oh my gosh.
like I gained, I think 300,000 followers that week
Oh,
on
wow.
TikTok. And then it kind of spilled over onto Instagram, and then it just kind of took off from there.
I know. And the irony of you were doing all, and you're a great content creator. I love watching
Oh,
everything you
thank
do,
you.
but you were doing all this educational stuff, but it was this kind of
Mhm.
quirky video with your mom, who is,
Exactly.
by the way, totally adorable and, charming in her own way. And so she has
Yeah.
sort of her own little TikTok, because you ended up
Oh,
doing a series, right, of things I learned
yes.
from my mother. Isn't that what you call it?
Exactly. I started a series, sometimes strange anti-aging tips I learned from my Japanese mother, and people just became huge fans of my mother. And then they saw that I was providing other skincare advice too, so that's why they started following me. But yeah, people love. I'm noticing on social media, people love affordable, easily accessible things
Yeah,
that they could do for their skin. And so this
yeah,
was like, wait, I have bananas in my house, easy. And then
yeah. Or
people
I can
always
go to the
love.
drugstore and get a drugstore
Exactly.
brand.
They love
Yeah,
drugstore favorites.
yeah. And I think especially the TikTok audience, it's a
Mhm.
younger audience in general. And so those super expensive, probably not worth it products, they're not likely to buy.
Right.
And so I think that really plays very well. So tell us like what your week looks like, because I know you spend a lot of time creating content. So give us a little nutshell of what your week looks like.
Yeah, so because I've gotten so involved with social media, I now see patients 3 days a week, and I spend at least 1 day of the week doing social media planning and filming, and I do have, people who work with me. I have a social media manager and people who help with editing and posting, and we meet and we go over content ideas, and then I film, and then I give them content to help edit. I do initially I and I still do a lot of my own editing. It's
Yeah, you
hard for
were
me to
doing,
I was
yeah,
doing
hard for
most of
you
my
to let
editing.
go, right? It's
It's
hard to let
really hard for
go.
me to let
I
go,
know.
but I've
I
learned the importance
understand that.
of. Yes. But definitely delegating has been a game changer. And then, once we got the videos together, then I would spend another day kind of organizing the content, like coming up with my captions and, posting schedule.
Yeah. And I know you've
Yeah,
got a little studio set up in the house,
I
which
do have a studio.
makes it super easy for you to create the content.
Yes, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I found that lighting is so important.
Everything. It's
People just
everything.
pay attention because you need to grab that attention in the first like 2 seconds of your video. So if you have a good quality, good lighting, good well lit video, that can, make a
Makes
huge
the
difference.
difference.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
interesting. So you're also on Instagram. I mean, you cross,
Yes.
uh, take a lot of your TikTok comes up on Instagram. Are you on
Yes.
any of the other platforms? What else are you on?
Yes. So YouTube has also come out with something that's similar to IG Reels and TikTok, short form
Ah,
video. It's called YouTube Shorts. So I also post a lot of the same content on YouTube. And then I've also been posting a lot of stuff on Facebook too, on my professional Facebook account.
oh
Yeah.
wow. So you're
Hmm.
pretty much everywhere. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna like go through a few interesting statistics that I
Yeah.
found. There was a study that was done by the ASDS, which is the American Society for Dermatologic Surgery, for those who don't know, and I think the statistics are pretty impressive. First of all, in terms of buying skincare products, social media was one of the top three factors for people in picking a skincare product.
Mm.
So they're
Wow.
really looking at the content that people like you are creating.
Yeah.
It was the sixth most important factor for a cosmetic procedure. So people are getting a
Ah,
lot of information about doing, well, when you see it, when you look at
definitely.
TikTok and
Hmm.
Instagram, a lot of information about procedures. And
Yeah.
then 41% of the patients followed their own physician on Instagram, and 43% of consumer decisions to schedule an appointment came from social media posts. So I
Ah.
remember when your TikTok went wild, and I remember
Uh-huh.
the phone started ringing globally, right? So,
Yes,
and that was
people
just some
from
people
yeah,
from all
all
over calling
over.
like, I want to see her. And we're like, I don't even think we had, I don't even think we had telemedicine then, did we? I mean, it might have been.
Yes, but we weren't like it wasn't that well developed.
Yeah, we weren't set up for
Yeah,
the.
we weren't
So
super
how did you
savvy.
deal with all of that? Because that's sort of a unique problem that people probably don't foresee. But you do have to interact with your listeners or your viewers, And there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that.
Yes. So, if people have some basic questions about like, what are my favorite cleansers? What are, you
Yeah.
know, my thoughts on certain topics, I
Yeah.
may be able
Or,
to give them generic responses. But when people have specific questions, like what is this spot on my face or how do I
yeah.
treat my acne? If they're in the area, of course, I'll
We'll see
let them know,
them.
try to make an appointment here, but I'll usually direct them to like an online service somewhere.
Ah, I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Hmm.
So you
I
triage those now.
triage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people ask for a lot of medical information.
Oh my gosh, it's insane.
I know it really is insane. I
Hmm.
mean, one of the other interesting things as a physician, I mean, we know there's a lot of content creators who are influencers, as we call them, especially in our space. And I mean, they recommend creams because they rubbed it on their face and they thought it felt good. And, I mean, this is obviously totally different. But
Hmm.
when you're creating content, um, I'm just curious, like, how do you prioritize? I know you do a lot of education, but
Hmm.
like, how do you prioritize? You also work with lots of companies, I know. And so you
Hmm.
have a lot of partnerships, as we call them.
Yes.
So kind of
Hmm.
talk about that. Do you do more partnerships or more your own content, or how does that work?
Yeah, actually, one of the biggest sources of my content ideas is the DMs and comments that I get. If I see repetitive comments
Ah,
about treating hyperpigmentation or repetitive DMs about perioral dermatitis, I'm like, people want to know about this stuff. So actually, it's really good fodder for content. What people just simply,
ask you.
how they engage in your content.
Yeah.
So that's really my priority. And then I also try to see what's trending out there. Slugging was a thing,
Oh, yeah.
people doing different, skincare trends. So using that as a way to like, comment and giving my perspective. Like I just posted a video about Head and Shoulders as a face wash, and there was a very famous influencer who talked about how that was like the best thing for her skin. So I gave my perspective on that.
On that. Yeah. I can
Um,
imagine that might be a bit trying.
yes, yeah, not my first
Not my
go-to.
first go to.
Yes,
I mean,
but
maybe if she had Sepderm,
right,
right?
exactly. I talked about how it's great for like pityrosporum
Yeah.
folliculitis.
Yeah.
Um, and so anyways, I tried to, give my spin on, the benefits of zinc, but
Right.
there's some better alternatives.
Yeah.
So, trying to kind of give my, you know, educated derm perspective on these things.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then
It's hard sometimes because I see a lot of dermatologists duetting people, and there's
yes.
so much misinformation out there.
Oh
It's
my
really
gosh.
it. I have a hard time looking at some of it. I'm like, no,
I know.
no.
I know. Mhm. Mhm.
um, let's kind of switch gears for a second. I know you're super interested in topical skincare. And
Yes.
so, what kind of things do you think are really like what's exciting to you? What are some of the new things? I mean, you're like I was 20 years ago, always
Mhm.
getting
Mhm.
something in the
Mhm.
mail, always getting something new and having lots of companies come at you, whether it's, devices or, all kinds of interesting things. What kind of exciting things do you see trending in topical skincare?
In topical skincare, it's so, it's interesting. People are seeing how impactful the voices of dermatologists are, and we're kind of bringing people back to the basics. Like, let's talk about evidence-based practices. So people are, you know, really now becoming aware of the importance of sunscreen, the importance of tretinoin, the value of vitamin C. So it's like, okay, now that's becoming more mainstream. People are
Yeah.
understanding that. So I'm
So,
trying to
kind of
like,
what's old is new.
what's old is
I
new.
love that. And I love that they're coming back to good things, right?
Yes, yes, definitely. Um, and
What
so our goal is to make sure that people are using the basics, the tried and true. But there's always like a lot of other fun things out there. Like I'm a huge fan of acne patches
I was just
for
going to
like
ask you about
pimples.
acne. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that just because it's so not, irritating to
Yeah.
people. And you don't have to worry about it, yeah, drying out the skin. And then I'm also been a fan of at-home light treatments. I don't know what works, but there seems to be more and more evidence coming out with like, red light, LED light
Absolutely.
treatment.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I have a couple of masks that some companies have sent me. I don't know honestly what the best brand is, but it's
Yeah.
it's fun to try.
Yeah. They're super popular right now with the consumer.
Yes.
And I think anything you said it in the very beginning, anything that you can get it to use at home is
Mhm.
really a win-win. People
Mhm.
really not don't always have time to go to the dermatologist's office. They don't always have the money to
Mhm.
have the in-office procedures. So,
Mhm.
I give a lot of credit to the cosmetic companies because I've
Mhm.
seen in my career, which is obviously spans decades at this point,
Mhm.
so much of a commitment by the cosmetic companies to really come out with highly effective products. Like,
Yeah.
it blows my mind.
Mhm.
When hyperpigmentation became just a huge, concern and need in the dermatology population, we saw cosmetic companies coming up with very effective topical products that were not prescription. I
Yeah.
mean, all of the ingredients that we now use it's just amazing. And
Yeah.
you can do really well without getting hydroquinone now. You can get better without
Yes.
hydroquinone.
Yes, and that I feel like has been a huge wave of information on social media. Like all these ingredients, people are now familiar with tranexamic
Tranexamic acid,
acid,
yeah.
kojic
Yeah,
acid,
kojic acid, vitamin
niacinamide.
C, yeah.
Yes.
All the tried and trues. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's one of the places the cosmetic industry usually steps up to the plate and does something, in my opinion, very extraordinary. And you're going to
Mhm.
see, I don't know if you noticed that Neutrogena launched a nutraceutical line last week.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm going to forward you that
Exciting.
email
Okay.
when I hang up. Well,
Okay.
it was amazing. Yeah,
Wow.
it's individualized. Like, you tell them I think you take a picture and it tells you what you need, and then it individualizes it. It's a very
Mhm.
cool concept called, I think it's Skin Savers, but it came out Monday, and I was just like, oh, they're so brilliant, because
Wow.
that inside out approach, and you and I have
Mhm.
embraced it for many, many years. In fact, I'm
Yes.
going to Paris to the MCAS meeting, and one of the things I'm speaking on is nutraceuticals for skin health and skin
Yes.
beauty. And
Yes.
I just love the fact that a major company stepped up into that arena, because
Mhm.
that's a big deal. And now you're going to
Yes.
see others, I think, follow.
I think so. Yeah. I
So I've got to send you that, because that's super interesting.
yes.
I don't want to run out of time without having a little bit of a discussion about the ethical and the
Uh-huh.
professional concerns around social media. I
Yes.
remember those years ago when those, I think they were vascular surgeons who published that
Yes.
article. They,
Mhm.
they went on and created, if I remember right, they created accounts, and then they watched other physicians,
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
started they published an article, right? Remind me, they
They
published,
they did about yeah, sort of almost like about the double standard of like female physicians online or something like
yeah, it was
that.
like sort
Yeah.
of what you shouldn't be doing, and it was
Mhm.
the bikini. They had said you shouldn't have pictures of you with the bikini. So
Yes.
then a hashtag started trending, med
Yes.
bikini, and all the young
Mhm.
physicians who were on social started doing pictures.
Yes.
I mean, I thought
As
that
a backlash.
is
Yeah.
a backlash, because it's like even male doctors were on there with their bikinis going, well, how is it okay
Uh-huh.
with me, but it's not okay for them? I mean, it was such a chauvinistic thing to do.
Yes.
But I mean, I think there are ethical concerns, and there are
Mhm.
professional concerns
Mhm.
regarding not necessarily our personal posting, but
Mhm.
how people conduct themselves on social media. And I
Mhm.
will say, from the bottom of my heart, I love your content, because I think it's highly professional, and I think it's
Oh, thank you.
extremely educational. And
Oh, thank
that's what
you.
I really think is the value of having board certified dermatologists and board certified physicians of other specialties on social media.
Mhm.
Is
Mhm.
that you do kind of drown out this low drumbeat of influencers and people who perhaps are not as knowledgeable as
Mhm.
they probably even should be to say some of the
Mhm.
things that they say. So
Mhm.
I give a lot of our young physicians, you and being one of them, a lot of credit for being out there, you put yourself out there.
You do. Yep. It
And
gets
I
pretty
remember
vulnerable.
I remember also during the COVID crisis, when you were
Mhm.
talking about the COVID vaccine, and
Oh, yeah.
anti-vaxxers
Oh,
were coming at
oh,
you.
it was
It was,
madness.
yeah,
Yes.
it was,
Yes,
but you went
yes.
out there because you thought it was the right thing.
Mhm.
And because you're not only a dermatologist, you're board certified in internal medicine. I remember telling that
Yes.
to you. I'm like, Mamina, you
Yeah.
certainly can speak about vaccines.
Yes.
you know, but
Mhm.
people can be very brutal and very, opinionated and
Yes.
very harsh. So, like I
Yeah.
said, I give you guys a lot of credit for really being out there. And and fighting the good fight.
Yes, yeah, fight the good fight. Yeah, it's a tough gig a lot of times because you want to be true, you want to be authentic to your
Right.
voice, and sometimes that can result in backlash. And that's kind of piece of advice I have for people. Um, you gotta, as long as you believe in what you're doing, you know, those things won't bother you as much. Like the things that people say won't bother you as much. I mean, yes, it can be disturbing. Um, but there's everyone has opinions. You can't have like the whole world, like you. It's you have to accept that, some people might disagree with you and that's okay. But if you're coming from your educated, authentic voice, then I think that's really important.
And
Um,
that's really good advice.
yeah.
Stay true to who you are.
Stay true to who you are.
Stay the course.
Yes, stay the course. And then
Yeah.
also that in addition to, being professional, it also attracts the type of people that you want to attract. As long as you're being authentic, you're going to get the right followers. And I've also come to learn that the number of followers isn't as big of a deal. It's also the type of followers you have, because if the followers really like what you have to say, you're going to have good engagement, and that makes your platforms more valuable.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes total sense. It's kind
mhm.
of like I've always said to young physicians, the older you get, the more your practice becomes like you, full of
Mhm,
people like you, because
mhm,
they like you
mhm.
because they're like you.
Yep, yep,
And
exactly.
like attracts like.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so you don't want everybody. You just want the people that
yeah,
want to hear what you have to say and like your style
exactly.
and like
Yep.
the way you practice.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
listen, time is short, but I'm
Uh-huh.
so excited for you, and I'm so grateful for your time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I hope that you continue to flourish and thrive. And
Thank
by the way,
you.
my favorite person on your social to date
Uh-huh.
is Rob. I love
Oh my
watching your
gosh,
husband. He's
I know.
hilarious.
He needs to make more cameos.
He's so cute,
Yes,
and he's so into the product.
he is. Oh my gosh, he loves his skincare. And
I
I
know.
find that people also like it if you add a little bit of personal. So I try to balance that professional and personal, but people do like to know a little bit of what's going on in your life, like, post my sister's baby shower, or,
Oh,
show my husband. Um, so I think you guys just find that balance where you're mostly professional, but you could still show that personal side.
well,
Mhm.
thanks for your time and thanks for all your
Yes.
great advice. And
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I always love talking with you.
you too. Thanks everyone for joining us on Skincare Confidential.